The UConn Huskies found themselves in the unfamiliar position of having to bounce back from a second regular season defeat on Saturday, but they responded with a victory against Cincinnati, albeit not a convincing one.
We won. Other than that, there is nothing else to take away from it. We won. And sometimes you have to win when it looks ugly, and you have to win when you just don't play well.
Tonight, the Huskies are back home in Hartford in hopes of washing out the taste of a subpar road trip as they play host to East Carolina, and we're getting you set for all the game action right here on the UConn Women's Basketball pregame show, and it begins right now. It is the XL Center. It's in downtown Hartford, Connecticut. It's where UConn going to play host to the Pirates of East Carolina, and tip-off coming your way top of the hour right here on your home for UConn basketball. It is SNY as we welcome you inside Studio 31, the UConn Women's Basketball pregame show. Gary Apple sitting alongside the Hall of Famer. I can say that, right? You're in the
Yes.
Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. It's Kara Walters. Huskies bouncing back from that defeat against Louisville. They knocked off Cincinnati on Saturday, although it was not light lifting, and so a bit of a lackluster road trip, I think it's fair to say. Kara, how do you assess at the moment the state of this UConn team?
I think, first of all, they're glad they're home for a three-game home stretch here. They want to get back into that routine. I just have to say that the state of Connecticut needs to relax, right? I think everyone's shocked by what's going on and they're losing games. And, in fact, I think it should be the other way around. They should be shocked that this team has done so much, or this program. That's not normal. This is normal basketball. You have highs, you have lows, you win, you lose. This is what normal basketball looks like, and I think we're a little shocked by it. But think of Tennessee lost 10 games my senior year and won the national championship. 2012, 2013, UConn lost 4 games, went on to win the national championship. So we're okay, everybody. Like, we're okay. However, there's a few things. Obviously, Coach Oriama wants to focus on getting better, and I think Nafisa Collier and Katie Lou Samuelson are trying to do it all and take all the pressure, and Katie Lou Samuelson not shooting well. So who's going to step up? I mean, eventually good shooters, they shoot. She's going to shoot her way out of it. I think people are so focused on it, and when you focus on something, sometimes it gets worse. So they want Katie Lou to just relax. This isn't your team. You don't have to take over. Everybody's got to contribute. So it's a little different of a team than we've seen in the past, but they just have to work through some things, so they're there in March.
I know they're okay by normal basketball standards, right? 19-2, they're 8-0 in the conference, and number 5 in America. Number 5 in America. When have we said that? It's been a long time, about 11 or 12 years. Yeah. But when you think about it, they did lose that game to Baylor, right? And they didn't shoot it very well. And they lost the game to Louisville, and they didn't shoot it very well. And you do begin to worry, well, if this is something that can happen to this team, are they going to make this magical run in the month of March? And it does, I think it does give you a little bit of pause here.
Well, for a second, but that's what happens in basketball. You have good shooting days, you had bad shooting days. UConn just needs to figure out how to play through the ugliness. They have to figure out, like, when things aren't going well, what do we do? And in those games, like, a win is a win. We'll take it any way we can, and then we work on things in practice. So, I mean, yeah, you can pause for a moment, but also know this is regular basketball. This is real life. This is how this works. And I think a team like this that is well coached, attention to detail, all those things, although there's some uncertainty there, and Gino's a little unsure because he hasn't had a team like this, plenty of time. They're working on their things. Shots will fall eventually.
All right, so the Hall of Fame head coach, Gino Auriemma, he did address the media following that win on Saturday. He was asked about bouncing back from the losses this season and the difference between the two bounce-back games.
After the Baylor game, I thought we handled it really well mentally because it looked like we didn't give a so maybe that's why we handled it so well. Not much really changed. And I think after this one kind of stung a little bit more and hurt a little bit more, and that's probably it's probably a good thing, we're being subjected to the things that every single team in America deals with every single year. My God, how are you going to act coming off a loss? Imagine if every team in the country had to have an intervention after every loss. So the fact that it happens so rarely at Connecticut, you can't go overboard about it. It's supposed to happen.
It's supposed to happen, but not necessarily at Connecticut, as we bring Justine Ward into the conversation right now. And Justine, Gino, and we heard him right there. He had plenty to say after that game on Saturday. And we heard him mention the team took that loss against Louisville especially hard. So why did they carry that extra weight of that Louisville loss? What is it about this team that it bothered so much?
Well, Gary, Crystal Dangerfield told me today that the Louisville loss hurt a little bit more because they made mistakes in that game that were preventable. She also told me that it exposed that they thought they had fixed some things after that loss to Baylor, and in that Louisville game, it became apparent that not everything they thought they fixed had been fixed. She said, especially on offense, when Louisville took our first option away, we became way too stagnant. So the team definitely took that Louisville loss pretty hard, Gary.
So let's take it forward, Justine. What sort of goals are in place for the team tonight to get things back on track?
Well, as the head coach told me, they want to get into a flow on offense. They're going to try and put up as many shots as they can. And as Crystal Dangerfield told me about that Louisville game, they want to make sure they're not stagnant on offense, that as soon as ECU's defense takes away one of their options, that they continue to make steps forward on offense. So really watch the offensive end of the floor. They didn't do too much differently in practice this week on offense, but they did work on their half-court offense a lot in shoot-around today. And they want to set the tone, and then on the defensive end, they want to continue to be aggressive.
All right, Justine, we thank you. See you coming up at the top of the hour. Let's get a look right now at the latest AP rankings that are out. UConn, number 5 in America right now. It is the lowest the Huskies have been in the AP poll since back February of 2007. Nonetheless, the Huskies have now spent 232 consecutive weeks in the top 5. And, you know, we've grown very accustomed to UConn and winning their conference games by 40 and 50 and sometimes even 60 points. And while the win against Cincinnati was still a win, it wasn't pretty. I think we can agree on that. So how can they get back to dominating, right? We're used to them dominating, especially in league play. Yeah. How do they get back to that?
Well, practice, like Justine said. I think when Gino sees things not being corrected that they worked on in practice, then that's a concern for Gino Auriemma. But to get back to dominance, you need to practice the way you're going to play. Also mentally, I feel like, you know, especially Katie Lou, you're putting a lot on her. You're putting a lot on the seniors. They need to just kind of let it go and let the game come to them. Sometimes when you're obsessing about something, it only makes it worse. So I think the mental part still needs to kind of get there, and they need to know that it's okay, you're losing. That doesn't mean the season's over or the sky is falling. So I think the mental aspect and then taking care of business in practice and making sure that translates to games.
Gino has said that this team has about a month now, right, to try to figure out what they've done wrong and right those ills. Are you, in your heart of hearts, of the belief that this can be taken to a place where they can cut down the nets when it's all said and done?
Yeah, we talked about this, Gary. You think so, and I
do, yes.
I think so too. I mean, again, let's look at history. 2012-13, UConn lost 4 games, went on to win the national championship. Tennessee lost 10 games in 1997, went on to win the national championship. So it's as long as you learn from your mistakes, and hey, let's be positive here. Let's say now UConn's been put in a position where they've lost and they have to bounce back. Maybe that's going to help them down the line, because look, they lost, you know, the last game of the season because they weren't used to being in that position. Now they are. Mentally, they're training themselves as well as physically, and I absolutely think they can be there in March, cutting down the nets.
UConn 19-2, 8-0 on the season. East Carolina coming in at 11-10, 2-6 on the year. They snapped their 5-game losing streak last time out against Tulane. And so Kara and I just getting going here on the UConn women's basketball pregame show. UConn has the potential to score in bunches. And when we come back on our show, Kara going to explain how they can do it more consistently. We're back in just a moment. So before the recent offensive downtick, UConn, one of the most potent offensive teams in America, as we get a look right here at the numbers presented by Town Fair Tire. But over the course of the last 2 games, they have cooled off quite a bit. And to explain why, let's head now into Kara's Corner. Kara.
With Katie Lou Samuelson not shooting well, UConn's offense has struggled. It's been stagnant, and there's no flow to that. Several things factor into that, and one of them is ball movement. We all know what typical UConn sharing the basketball looks like, moving the ball from side to side, passing up a good shot for a great shot, really moving the ball well. That's trademark UConn, but it hasn't happened as of late. We see passing up the good shot for the great shot with Katie Lou. But we're going to show you down the other end some of the things that didn't happen. They're moving the ball, setting some screens, which is good by UConn. They get the ball into Nafisa Collier here. Look. Circle this. Highlight that. You have Kristen Williams open on the opposite side of the floor. Now, Nafisa Collier, being the great senior she is, she attracts all that attention, but I think she tries to do too much sometimes. She has the kick out to Kristen Williams. Instead, she forces up a shot and gets that one blocked. We go down the other end, again, screening. Crystal Dangerfield, Nafisa Collier, they do a good job of that, but you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3 people doing something that Gina Oriema does not like, and that is watching while the game is going on here. Oftentimes you have a 2-man game, but defense has already been pulled all the way over. There needs to be movement from these 3 here, not just watching, hoping Nafisa Collier gets that shot. So a few things that UConn can alter with their offense that will make a big difference with ball movement. That'll help going forward. Gary?
All right, Kara, so the leap from freshman to sophomore year, it is rarely linear. So what is going well? What needs to be improved upon for Megan Walker to reach her potential? We've got those answers when we come back in just a moment. Time now for a look at the upcoming schedule. Tonight is the first of 3 consecutive home games for UConn as Temple and South Carolina lie ahead following a road game against Central Florida before returning to Hartford, going to take on Memphis. And for more on the Huskies, going to toss it out to Eric Freed and Meg Colmo. They've got the call for us tonight right here on SNY. Guys.
Good to be back here at the XL Center as we get ready for UConn and ECU. We talked about it in the win against Cincinnati. 10-point win. It was the second closest result in conference play for UConn. They missed a lot of easy shots, and we said during the course of the telecast and after the telecast, they seemed a little tight. How does this team seem to you right now? Were they tired after playing Louisville and Cincinnati more than tight?
I think a lot of it was the fatigue, you know, the mental exhaustion. They lose to Louisville, and then, you know, 2 days later they're playing in Cincinnati, so there's the physical anguish of the loss and all that comes with that. Now remember, this is a program that doesn't lose. So they've already lost 2 games. And then the physical fatigue, I think we saw that playing out. But I've always contended, when you're mentally tired, you're going to get physically tired quicker. And then what happens is you get tight. They're afraid to miss, afraid to make mistakes, and that only makes you make more.
Is that what we see? You know, we've talked about Katie Lou Samuelson's struggles, but Megan Walker missing layups in that Cincinnati game. That to me is an indication that, well, you get in your head a little bit. You're afraid to take that shot because you're afraid you're going to miss it instead of just playing loose and free and making those shots.
I mean, when you start playing not to miss or not to do stuff, that's the kiss of death. And you know, Megan had some big rebounds, had some good moments, and then was just missing these bunnies. And when that happens to me, it's all up here.
But the thing with Megan Walker more than anything else is she has been a big plus over this last month.
Absolutely.
I mean, double-figure rebounds in 3 straight games. Her scoring average would be a lot higher if she makes those easy ones. So we'll see if they go down today, playing back here in Connecticut against ECU.
I think they're going off.
You think they're going off today?
I think they're going to shoot well.
They're going to shoot well? You're in the prediction business right now.
Apparently I am now.
Now you got to stay tuned to see what happens coming up at the top of the hour.
I guess we'll call her Megstradamus.
Yes.
Something along those lines. We thank you guys. Katie Lou Samuelson, she's been such a productive and efficient force for the Huskies over the years. But as of late, the shots, they have not been falling. She'll look to right the ship tonight against East Carolina. And when you get a look at her struggle, she's made just 11 of her last 37 shots from the floor and 4 of her last 20 from beyond the arc. So those are not great numbers, especially for an All-American like Katie Lou. Are you concerned? Are those numbers concerning to you?
I don't think so. She's a good shooter. You go through ups and downs, even if you are a senior, when it comes to that. But you also have to look at other things that Katie Lou's doing. She has 145 rebounds on the season so far, which is what she finished with the total season last year. She's doing things that if you look at the numbers, you go, huh, she's not so bad, which is funny that people think she's bad because she clearly isn't. She's rebounding the ball well. She's sharing the basketball well. She's actually scoring more points than she did last season. She's actually playing better than a lot of the top guards guards. Agumbalowale, Asia Durr, she's got better three-point field goal percentage than them. So if you really look at the stats and break them down, Katie Lou Samuelson doesn't stink, people. I do have to tell you, she's still one of the greatest players with the best numbers ever to come out of UConn. She's in a funk. She is. And Gino said, I wish I could put my finger on it. I wish I could tell you. I don't always know what's going on inside my players' heads. I don't know if it's, you know, something's bothering her or whatever, but she's a fantastic player. She's a great shooter. I'm with Megan. Let's go with they're going to break out of the slump and she's going to shoot lights out. That's my prediction.
Well, I know this about Katie Lou. She's one of the best players in the nation. I don't think there's any debating that. You cannot question the acumen of her game, right? She is a tremendous player and one of the best in America. I think the bigger issue with Katie Lou is, and Gino has said this, not everybody is meant to be that alpha dog, right? The question is, can Katie Lou put this team on her shoulders, even when she's shooting it well, and just carry them where they want to go?
Well, that might be part of the problem, Gare. Maybe she is trying to put them on her shoulder and feel like she has to do it all when that's not in her personality. So she has Nafisa Collier. People do things different. People lead in different ways. Now she has Nafisa Collier. If they work off each other's strengths and weaknesses, they can do it together. But I think maybe part of the problem is she knows she's not that kind of in-your-face Diana Taurasi kind of person, but you don't have to be. You find other ways to win and other ways to lead. Watching some of the video, you see her pointing out things. Go over there, move the ball here. So she does lead just in a different way. And I think if they kind of come together and she realizes it's not all on her shoulders, good things will happen.
Be good if she gets going early tonight. She was 0 of 6 from beyond the arc last time out. So hit a couple of early shots and maybe that gets her going. So no offensive struggles for her teammate Nafisa Collier in recent days. Going to put the senior's decorated career in perspective. She's averaging a double-double. We'll put it in perspective when we come back.
It's like the old Fisa, you know, from a few years ago. It just seemed like every time she touched the ball, something good happened.
She has had that unbelievable work ethic from day one. Collier with a beautiful move to get to 2,000 in her UConn career. The 11th member of the 2,000-point club at UConn. Defense here. Collier gets the steal and takes it all the way to the basket. Count it and the foul.
You know, your senior leaders step up and make big plays when you need them most.
It is Shining the Light is presented by Connecticut Lighting Centers, and tonight going to focus in on the newest member of UConn's 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds club, Nafisa Collier. She's only the 5th Husky to ever put up those numbers. She joins a very elite group of former UConn stars. So let's put Nafisa and everything that she has accomplished into perspective. How would you do that?
Well, she's been one of those players that's kind of was under the radar for many years. And she came in, remember, as a freshman with Breanna Stewart. So she didn't need to be a big impact player, kind of like Kristen Williams was thrown in this season. She could kind of slowly progress. She had Morgan Tuck, she had Breanna Stewart. So she came in, she's quiet, and she slowly became this consistent, deadly force. But even if you had a trivia question, some people probably wouldn't guess that she's in the 2,000, 1,000 point club, right? Because she just goes along, hard worker, does her job, she's consistent and gets it done. But sometimes she's under the radar, as crazy as that sounds, with the stats that she has. And so I don't think people think of her yet as like a Diana Taurasi or Sue Bird, but man, you look at her numbers, she's right up there in the high rent district.
What about her legacy at UConn? And is it contingent on winning a second national championship this season?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look at her numbers, flat out her numbers and what she's done for this program, I mean, you can't bank it on whether you've won national championships or not. That doesn't define you as your career. Would she like it to go out with like that? Then she could solidify her spot in people's minds? Yeah, I'm sure she would like that.
I would think she's got a shot at that, and I would think she's hungry, right? I mean, when you come to UConn, you win a national championship your freshman year, which is what Katie Lou did, and now what Nafisa has done as well. you want to bookend that, right? I mean, you don't want to leave there and say, okay, well, we didn't get it done three straight years.
And not only that, it's the way they lost the last couple of years. I mean, such a bad taste in their mouth. And what they do is they put newspaper articles in their lockers to remind them what happened last year. And it really stings because these are competitive people. Katie Lou Samuelson and Nafisa Collier, they definitely want to go out on a bang, bookend those national championships. But it's more than just finishing up your senior year well. It's more of what's happened in the last 2 years, wanting kind of to get back at that.
All right, so we close in on game time in Hartford, and let's get a look here at Nafisa Collier. 20-plus points now in 5 consecutive games for her. She's UConn's leading scorer, looking to pad those stats tonight against East Carolina. And we're back to wrap up our pregame coverage in just a moment. Here it is. A look at tonight's starting lineup for Connecticut. No change here. The same starting lineup they have used all season long. And what about what we should keep an eye on, Kara, early on in tonight's game against East Carolina? What are you searching for?
Well, I think high-octane offense, out of the gate, early, quick, running up the score. It doesn't matter who they're playing. UConn's goals right now have to do with them and things they need to work on. So it doesn't matter who they're playing. Getting this offense going. Also, Kristen Williams, she's really kind of struggled mentally. He's pulled her out of games, said she's not getting things done. So I'd look for Kristen Williams to kind of have a breakout game. Katie Lou Samuelson to have a breakout game, shooting those threes. But out of the gate, quickly, high-octane offense. One
of the things Gino Auriemma has said in recent days, he doesn't think at times he has enough one-on-one type players, right? Players, he said 2 in particular fit that mold, Nafisa and Crystal Dangerfield. They can take over a game on their own. Does UConn need to see more out of their other players, the ability to put it on the deck and create for themselves?
Yeah, because I think they watch too much. They look at Nafisa and Katie and say, okay, go ahead, score. But the ability to create, Kristen Williams can take it to the hole, attract people, and then dish it off. So they need to at least act like they're creating to open other things up.
At least act like they're creating, right? Like make believe you're creating. Do something to make the coach happy. So Kara and I are going to see you back at the half. Enjoy UConn and East Carolina. Eric, Meg, and Justine with all the action from the XL Center in downtown Hartford, Connecticut, right here on SNY.